The American Eagle is probably Great America's most iconic roller coaster. Sure, it may not be the best roller coaster. I take rides like Goliath and Raging Bull any other day over American Eagle, but you can't really picture the park without this ride. Sure, it's situated in the back of the park, and the entrance is kind of tucked away, but despite that, it's a hidden gem of the park, and I can't imagine Six Flags without this coaster, despite any grievances I have with the ride. I've grown up riding American Eagle, and I've had a lot of polarizing opinions about this coaster. I've both loved it at times, I've hated it at times, I've called for a complete rehaul of this ride, I've called for a simple refurbishment. I've been at both ends of the spectrum of wanting complete change for the coaster and wanting them to keep it the way it is. But no matter how I feel about this ride today, any option would be better than the current state of American Eagle, because Six Flags Great America, over the years, they have completely neglected American Eagle, to the point where it's just a shell of its former self. The coaster is no longer to the same standard of when it first opened. Back then, in 1980, when it first debuted, it was the tallest, fastest, and longest roller coaster in the world. Obviously now, it doesn't hold any of those records anymore, but the one it has held on to is still being the largest racing roller coaster in the world. The ride is over 4,600 feet long on both the red and blue side, and has a drop of 147 feet and a speed of 66 miles per hour. It's a massive roller coaster that's been standing for over 40 years and would technically still hold the title for largest racing roller coaster. And I say technically because the ride can't really hold that record if it doesn't race anymore. Yeah, that's right. American Eagle, the racing roller coaster, hasn't raced since 2018. The coaster is so old and dilapidated that if they ran two trains side by side, the structure would fail. That's right, this behemoth of a roller coaster has so many structural fallacies from decrepit wood that if they ever decided to race the coaster again, they could risk collapsing the ride. So the park can only run one side at a time. If you go one day, maybe you can ride red side. If you go another day, maybe blue will be open, or maybe the coaster is just completely closed. I've been to Great America on many occasions, and a lot of the time the ride will either open later in the day or not at all. The coaster is far past its glory days, and it can't even do its main function of racing anymore. It's pathetic. And the only ones I can blame for American Eagle's current state is Six Flags themselves. They are responsible for upkeeping this ride, and they haven't done that. The coaster hasn't dueled since 2018. That's over half a decade ago. And if it wasn't for the dueling aspect, the ride itself, it's not that good. The coaster has gotten so unbearably rough that it's not enjoyable anymore. The last time I rode American Eagle, it was on red side, and I gotta say, it's got a bit of a kick to it, and not in a good way. The drop has always been rough in the valley, but it just really hurts. If you're sitting on a wheel seat, you feel the potholes, and not just for the drop, it's basically on every valley, and especially towards the end of the helix. American Eagle, yes, has never been a smooth ride. I do like a little bite in a wooden coaster. If the helix itself was completely smooth, it would be kind of boring, but there's a fine line between fun and painful. And American Eagle, it crossed that threshold long ago. I can only ride this coaster maybe once every visit, and that's if I'm feeling up to it, because sometimes I don't want a headache for the rest of the day, so I usually skip this coaster. So if the ride can't duel and it's not that fun to go on anymore, what's even the point of this coaster? Why is Great America allowing the ride to be like this? Why don't they do something, anything? I don't care. Nothing can be worse than how American Eagle is currently. Six Flags just doesn't seem to care about this coaster. How can they allow their dueling coaster to be out of commission for 6 years? Is there no money in the budget to do anything with this ride? It's time for a change, because there is only 3 things they can do with this coaster. And they have to do it soon, because I don't know how much longer American Eagle can last in its current state. The first option is probably the most popular choice, and that would be RMC American Eagle. This has been a concept that people have been wanting for years. Ever since 2014, the idea of RMC American Eagle has always kind of floated around, but Great America, they've never taken any initiative to make it happen. Is there a reason? Well, yes, actually. Great America was going to do RMC American Eagle back in the day, but when Rocky Mountain Construction was surveying the ride, they noticed the plot of land that Iron Wolf used to take up. They got the idea for Goliath, and that got built instead. I actually talked about the entire RMC American Eagle situation way back when. I said that the main reason we never got RMC American Eagle was because of the demolition of Son of Beast at Kings Island. I know it sounds weird. How could Son of Beast correlate to American Eagle? My main rationale was that since Son of Beast was no more, the record for the tallest and fastest wooden coaster had suddenly became available, so Great America, they jumped on that opportunity and built Goliath, which was the tallest, fastest, and steepest wooden coaster when it debuted. All this happened over 10 years ago. Goliath is still standing, it still holds all its records. And American Eagle, it's still in the same situation as it was back in 2014. It still needs an update. So, is it possible today for RMC American Eagle to actually happen? Maybe? I'm never gonna rule it out until something happens with this coaster, because no matter what, Great America, they have to take action, and this is still a possibility. Maybe now after Six Flags and Cedar Fair have merged, there's a lot more capital to go around, meaning they could potentially do this one day. But I'm not going to hold my breath because I've been wanting this for years and still nothing is developed. But if Great America doesn't want to go down the RMC approach, the second option for American Eagle would be a refurbishment. Tear off all the old track, redo the structure to make it stable again, and make it a dueling coaster once more. Preferably going with a company like Great Coasters International. They've done great work on rides like Ghost Rider back in 2016. I think that would do wonders for American Eagle. It would still feel like a classic wooden coaster. They can reprofile the track, make it smooth, ditch those PTC trains for new Millennium Flyers, because those trains are tiny and cramped and I hate them. Sure, it wouldn't be extreme like RMC American Eagle, but it would still be a good ride. And it would retain that classic wooden coaster feel without really changing anything major. This option feels more likely. I hope Great America would do this and not just put on some Titan track to smooth it out. No, completely rehaul the whole coaster. But if Great America doesn't choose one of these two options, there's only one thing left to do with American Eagle. Straight up demolition. Tear down the coaster, open up the land, and do something else. This is the most drastic measure. I don't think Great America would ever do it though. They seem to have a strong attachment to their more historical rides. They were pretty persistent on salvaging the Demon, refusing to remove it to make room for Wrath of Rakshasa. The issue with American Eagle, however, is that it takes up a lot of land. I mean, Demon takes up a lot of land too, but American Eagle, it goes across the entire width of the park. The land where American Eagle resides is very valuable. They can build one massive coaster there, or they can build two smaller coasters there. And since Great America is a landlocked park, the extra space can be very beneficial for them. There's only one reason why I don't think Six Flags will demolish American Eagle. What's the reason? Well, apparently, part of the land that American Eagle sits on is not suitable for new development. Remember, part of American Eagle, specifically the Helix, is positioned between Washington Street and I-94. Originally, I thought that new zoning laws prevented development by a major highway. I thought these restrictions were new, and the only reason American Eagle was exempt from this was seniority, but that is actually not the case. When I looked up Gurney's zoning laws, apparently Great America can build by I-94. They just have to be 150 feet away from the road and 50 feet away from Washington Street. So if American Eagle's proximity to I-94 isn't the issue, what's the problem? Well, apparently the helix of the ride is positioned in a flood zone. Yeah, apparently 2 decades ago, this area was classified as lower elevation. So current or new development would be way more difficult because they would have to manage around a wetland. This is the big reason why Great America won't do anything, because if they want to renovate the ride, they gotta work around the flood area. They would have to demolish all the trees around the area to make a stable construction site, and spend a lot of capital to bring the coaster up to code. If they don't want to do that, and they want to demolish the ride, it's the exact same problem. They gotta monitor and account for the flooding zone. So if they demolish the coaster, they probably won't even use the land by the helix, and they will have a smaller footprint to work with. So that means in some way, American Eagle's troubles is not entirely Great America's fault. But they still have to do something with this coaster. They've put off this issue for so long, they don't want to make any drastic measures because whatever they do end up doing, it's going to cost them a fortune. They will essentially have to rebuild the coaster or just spend the price of a brand new coaster. It's a lose-lose for Six Flags. But either way, they're going to have to do something. Eventually, the structure is going to become so unstable, they're not going to be able to run this coaster at all. So Great America, they have to stop neglecting American Eagle and do something.